All right, joining us now to discuss is Dr. Frank Contessessa, an internist with Northwell Health. Doctor, thanks for coming on today. As our reporter shared and the stats prove, Omicron is spreading. In New York City, Broadway and the Rockettes have been canceled. Testing sites are overwhelmed, and it can be challenging to find an at-home test. Dr. Fauci painting a dark picture of what could come next. How are you evaluating the surging cases we're seeing?
We're definitely seeing a surge in cases. I'm seeing it right in my own office. I've already had a positive this morning, and the morning is just off to a start. I think it's a little premature of Dr. Fauci to predict doom and gloom from Omicron. I certainly do think we'll see a lot of cases, but for him to say we'll see, mounting deaths, I think it's a little bit premature. It's sort of like saying we're going to see a lot of snow in February. That could happen. But the evidence so far, especially out of South Africa and other parts of the world, is that Omicron may lead to a milder form of COVID.
That's what we've seen, some milder symptoms, and this impacting people who have been vaccinated and even in some case boosted as well. Let me talk to you about that in a moment. Again, here's Dr. Fauci talking about booster shots. Take a look.
When you get to Omicron, the protection significantly goes down, but the good news is when you boost someone, it goes right back up.
Again, encouraging booster shots for those who've already received the first 2 mRNA vaccines. A major question, though, for people deciding whether or not they should get boosted is keeping in mind the fact that we've seen some breakthrough booster cases, including 2 senators, Elizabeth Warren and Cory Booker, both fully vaccinated and boosted, and they've caught COVID here. Talk to me about how this all makes sense, what you're telling your patients who might be considering getting a booster shot.
Okay. Let's take a step back and look at this now. The reason that we're seeing so many breakthrough cases in fully vaccinated and boosted patients is because the vaccines that we're using now were designed for an earlier form of COVID. So you have a lock and a key. So the vaccines that we are using now were made for a different lock. The lock has changed. The virus has mutated extensively. There's over 30 mutations at the spike protein site, which is where the current vaccines were designed to be used. Now, and that goes for the boosters as well. The cases that we're seeing, huge numbers of fully vaccinated people. So again, the lock has changed. It's still showing some protection for the most at-risk populations. So as far as helping to prevent hospitalization and death, we do think that that's going to still be the case. So forcing college kids to go get a booster shot at this point, a very low risk population, doesn't make any sense. Boosting nursing home patients makes a ton of sense. So that's where we're at now with that.
Okay, so obviously consult your individual doctor and make a decision based on your own health needs. Wanted to ask you about those who had the original strain of COVID and might have built up some natural immunity. Have you seen them catch the Omicron variant? Is there some immunity that they've built up from the first round of COVID against Omicron?
Well, there's definitely some immunity. Study after study after study shows that natural immunity is a real thing. We've known this for hundreds of years, that if you had an illness, if you get it again, or sometimes you can't get it again, that it's usually a milder form. So yes, natural immunity is a thing. However, there are some studies indicating that Omicron is so different from the initial strain that you could potentially get it again, but it would be a milder form. I mean, look, the flu mutates very easily too. So you can I've had the flu 5 or 6 times. So you can certainly get it again. It looks like you can get it again, but we're hoping that's going to be a milder form.
Okay. And again, what we've seen so far is the milder cases of the Omicron variant. And if you've got that natural immunity, perhaps you are super immune to some of these cases. We'll wait and see as the data comes in. Before we get that data, though, some people are planning their holiday vacations and their trips, some of them flying on airplanes. And we know you do have to wear a mask by federal regulation at this time. Here's what Dr. Fauci had to say about masks on airplanes. Watch.
I don't think so. I think when you're dealing with a closed space, even though the filtration is good, that you want to go that extra step.
Talking about the need for people to wear masks on airplanes. We've heard from CEOs of 2 major airline companies say that their air filtration system is top notch and perhaps you wouldn't need it. What's your guidance here, Doc?
I don't have any problem with people wearing a mask, excuse me, on an airplane. It is true, and I've seen report after report that the filtration systems on airplanes are better than in most buildings and closed spaces. So I think the air on an airplane might be better than you being in a crowded mall. So, but I don't have any problems in, you're sitting inches away from somebody that you have no idea what's going on with. I don't have any problem with people wearing a mask on a plane. Whether it should be mandated or not is a debate. But if people want to wear a mask, then wear a mask.
Yeah. It is mandated, though, through March of next year. So if you want to travel, those flight attendants will be forced to make that a requirement. All right, Dr. Frank Contessa, thank you so much for joining us today, sir. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You got it.